It's always time for the dead to shine in Hollywood. The legendary Dearly Departed Tours has stepped up their ghostly game by offering the Hollywood Ghosts and Legends Walking Tour. Dearly Departed has long been an orb of hope in the paranormal world, having been featured on television's Haunted History and Haunted Collector. Their terrible tales have been made infamous in Marla Brooks' The Ghosts of Hollywood books. The new Ghosts and Legends Tour is a 10-block, 70-minute dusk-time stroll down the boulevard of broken dreams. You'll be guided through the golden age of Hollywood and see where the unearthly Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney, and the calamitous Black Dahlia are still said to linger. You'll see Hollywood's Gothic hotels, legendary theaters, and restaurants, never forgetting their permanent occupants. No stranger to investigations, Dearly Departed Tours has first-hand knowledge of some of these hauntings. For details of the Hollywood Ghosts and Legends Walking Tour, find Dearly Departed Tours on Facebook, dearlydepartedtours.com, or call 1-855-600-DEAD.
You are listening to Para X.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Hey, Merry Meet everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron here on the Para-X Radio Network. Now, Family Secrets is the name of the song by Midnight Syndicate that opened the show, and there are many, many family secrets at the Shanley Hotel in Napanoch, New York. And there's also a few skeletons in the closet as well. And we're going to be talking about some of those secrets and the skeletons, as well as some upcoming events in the next few months that you might want to take part in. And we're here tonight with the owner of the Shanley and a good friend of many of us, Sal Nicosia. Welcome, Sal.
Thank you, Malala. It's a pleasure being on your show. It's an honor.
Well, it's always good to talk to you because, I mean, the Shanley is a place that I think most people know about and many people have been to. And the Shanley has a very long history. I mean, it dates back to 1845, and I believe that where there is history, there are ghosts. And there are, from what I understand, between 30 and 40 resident ghosts at the Shanley, correct?
Yes. We have Mr. Shanley. We have quite a few of them here. And they're resident spirits. Like I always tell them, I'm just a caretaker here. They own the building. It's their place.
Well, they put in the time. They've been there a lot longer than the living, right?
Right.
Well,
it's a great experience.
Well, yeah, and I think you and I have talked in the past, and it's like all the spirits there kind of take care of you. They watch out for you.
Yes, they do. Anything goes wrong in a hotel, they let me know. My right ear starts to ring, and I know it's time to start looking around to see that something's wrong. You know, it can be when customers are here or when they're not here. You know, they watch out for me, and like I watch out for them. You know, I don't allow provoking or Ouija boards or quite a few things in the hotel. Mm-hmm. So we coexist with each other, and we care about. I consider them family.
Yeah, and they are actually. And so there are always, it seems, always people booking rooms and spending the night at the hotel. On the rare occasion that you're alone over there, do you feel them around? Do you kind of notice them, or do they just kind of quietly just hang out? I mean, because with so many people coming in and out, you're used to it being so busy there. So it must be really odd on the odd night that you guys are completely alone in the hotel.
No, most of the times they let us. We still hear them. You know, we hear conversations going on. It's people walking up and down the staircase. A lot of times the great room would just be the bar room. You hear activity down there. You know, especially the third floor is another one. You hear walking back and forth. You know, like I say, we coexist. I know that they're there. They know I'm here, and things go pretty well. Living near a firehouse, after a while, you get used to it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, where other people would be really nervous. You know, like
yeah.
last Saturday night, we had somebody leave at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, they got scared and headed out the door.
Really?
They heard voices, and I heard people talking in their room, and they were the only 3 girls in that room. And they heard a man talking in that room, and they decided they were going to leave.
Oh,
but there's nothing in here that's going to hurt you. You know, it's they're all friendly spirits. Mm-hmm. You know, we call them the good old boys and girls. That's what I call them. You know, and once I have a lot of groups, people that come back over and over again, and it seems like the spirits get familiar with them, and they seem to get more and more evidence every time they come back. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, the spirits will never call them out by name. You know, like Jim or Amy or Christine. You know, they'll call them out by name when they're here. You know. As a matter of fact, we had a customer a couple of weeks ago. It's her birthday, and up in a brothel, we got an EVP from a young gentleman that says "Happy Birthday" to her. You know,
wow,
that's nice, you know. Like I say, they're very friendly.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody, saying otherwise. That just, that it's busy. But, the hotel had 5 owners and as many different names before James Shanley actually bought the hotel in 1906.
Right.
And with the Shanleys, the hotel was pretty much in its glory. I mean, it became a stomping ground for the rich and famous. It had glorious parties. And it also housed a little side business, and you just kind of tipped the hand a minute ago when you said Bordello. Who were some of the hotel's famous guests? And tell us a little bit about the side business being run upstairs too.
Well, Thomas Edison, Mr. Goodrich Tyers, Eastern Kodak, quite a few of the big shots. Eleanor Roosevelt used to stop here all the time. She became very good friends with Mrs. Shanley. They were both involved in the same thing, getting women involved in social activity. So they became very good friends. Matter of fact, when the president was elected president, Eleanor made all the reservations for him to come to Washington. Mr. Shanley and Mrs. Shanley loved their guests, took good care of them. He even went out and bought a car, a big convertible, so he can take them to the countryside and show them around. And he was very good to the people, very good to the whole town. Everybody raved about the Shanleys.
Yeah, they were apparently very good hosts and hostesses and brought a little bit of color because Napanoch, I've not been up there, but it's not like Manhattan, right? It's off the beaten path in a way, and I know that it was kind of a stop when the hotel was first built. It was kind of a stop on the railway, a rest stop kind of. People would get off and stay there. So
right, the Shanley, the town Napanoch, it's only like a block and a half long. That's the whole town. The railroad stopped right across where 209 is now. And Shanleys used to send a horse and wagon over there and buggy, and they would pick up guests and bring them to the hotel, and they would spend the night or a couple of hours, eat and have lunch, and then they would take them back over to the train. There was another hotel further up called Yama Farms, and they were more for the rich and famous. So a lot of the big shots, Thomas Edison, Goodrich Tyers, and those guys, they used to check in there, and they would leave their wives up there, and they would put their chauffeurs in the Shanley Hotel, and then they would come down to the Shanley, and they played pool. They had a bowling alley. They had the brothel, the gentlemen's quarters. So they used to spend most of their time down here. And of course, there was drinking, and at the other hotel there wasn't. So it was pretty cool. They had a good time, and like I say, that's why we call them the good old boys and girls. Everybody had. It was a great place to come. If you talk to some of the old timers, you didn't go out unless you went to the Shanley.
Wow. And I mean, things went on for a while, pretty much the same. But then, by the time the Roaring 20s and 30s arrived, I think the clientele changed a bit, especially during Prohibition, didn't it?
Yes. And the hotel was raided twice for bootlegging. Mr. Shanley and John Powers were both arrested by federal agents. But there was a lot of things going on. A lot of things. The Irish Mafia got involved in a hotel.
Well, I heard that Shanley might have had ties to the Irish mob. Did he?
Yes. There were, I think, 6 or 7 brothers. The rest of the brothers had a hotel in Manhattan, on where 42nd Street is now. So there was a tie-in with the Irish Mafia, and so they were up here all the time. Like Diamond, they named quite a few of them. We've done research on them, and we found out they did come here. Matter of fact, we have a male spirit up on the 3rd floor, Joe, who was our private hitman, and he's still here, but he mellowed out a lot. He used to be a grumpy spirit, but he mellowed out. He's pretty cool,
He finally found his soft side, right?
Yeah, yeah. He knows that nobody's going to bother him.
Right.
In the beginning, I guess they were kind of nervous because the hotel was empty for quite a few years. Mm-hmm. It closed down in 1991, and I bought it in 2005. And the people I had it in between, when I bought it, whatever they can rip out of the hotel, they ripped out and sold. Oh. So when I bought the hotel, it was complete ransacked. I mean, there was nothing in here.
Wow.
So I'm restoring it. Like I tell people, don't judge a book by its cover. A lot of people look at the hotel, it's rough on the outside, but once you step in, it's like stepping back into the 30s. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're bringing it back to their era, and the spirits love it. What I get from all the mediums and everything that come in, the spirits are very happy what I'm doing to the hotel.
Well, yeah, you're bringing it back to another heyday. Well, I mean, it had its heyday, but I mean, a current heyday when the spirits can feel comfortable and sometimes maybe even at home.
Yes.
And, we were talking about prohibition just a second ago. Tell everybody about the secret room, because I think that kind of played into prohibition a little bit, didn't it?
Yes. There, in one part of the hotel, there's a secret room. I found it by accident. I talked to people I owned the hotel before me, and they didn't even know it was there. It was in a closet, and I was coming up from the basement, and there was a stone wall that had a piece of rock missing out of it. And I thought it was just another crawl space, so I stuck a flashlight in, being nosy. I stuck a flashlight in there looking. I didn't see any dirt. So I went up on the next floor, on the first floor, and I started fooling around with a screwdriver on the floor, and finally got in one of the closets right next to the telephone booth. I hit the right spot, and the door popped open, and I went down there, and I found newspapers from 1933, 1932. I found some what they used to use to put the corks in the bottles. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that, it was really cool, and nobody else really knew about that room.
See, that's the beauty of the place, too, because it's not, as big as the Waldorf, obviously, but there is a lot of places there. If you look around and dig a little bit deeper and turn the corner here and down in the basement and up in the attic and everything, I mean, there's a lot of places still need to be explored, aren't there?
Yes, there's a lot of places. The hotel is still hiding a lot of secrets, and hopefully someday I'll find them, find just whatever I can find out of it. But, and I've been told that, soon as things are settled and everything, that I will definitely find out what's going on. The spirits will, reveal everything to me.
Well, and with all the, like you said, during Prohibition and the gangsters and this and that, I mean, there were so many people that went through there, and, suppose there was a board loose in the floor or, a side panel loose in the window and people needed to hide something. I bet there's lots of stuff there, just interesting stuff, and it may not even be valuable in monetary sense, but it might be valuable historically of what people might have hidden.
And that's what I look for. I look for stuff that, has history behind it, and that's something I love. I love things that have history, Napanoch used to have a lot of old Victorian houses, and most of them are gone. They were ripped down, and they were sold piece by piece. We had an old church that was built in the 1800s that somebody had bought and stripped the whole church down and sold every bit of it. And all that's sitting in there right now is a vacant lot, and I'm not that type. It has to, I see what it used to be, and I try to bring it back to that era again, so people can enjoy it,
Yeah, I mean, just to be able to rummage through a big hotel like that, unencumbered, just kind of, that it's your own. Because if you were staying there and it wasn't yours, you might look around, you might get a little bit curious, but you would be a little hesitant to look a little deeper, you know. But
Right.
this is like your treasure chest in a sense, and that's got to be really, really fun in a way. I mean, when you're there alone and stuff, do you ever just get the urge to kind of wander around and kind of peek at things that maybe you haven't seen very often or looked too hard into?
Yes, I had bought hooks to the computer. It's an eye, and I can put it into cracks, and I can see what's on the other side of a wall or something like that. You know, it's a snake, and I can see what's back there. You know, so instead of ripping down a whole wall, you know, I can see things like that. You know, I like to dig around. We bought a metal detector. We go down the basement, we check that, you know, and up on different floors, we try to look for something, see if we find something. But it's really interesting. It's a lot of fun, you know.
It has to be. But, you know, underneath all the glitz and glitter of the hotel, in its heyday and even afterwards, there were several tragedies that kind of went along with it over the years. I mean, it said that individuals went missing. There were whispers of murders occurring. The Shanleys themselves lost 3 children in infancy. Mrs. Shanley lost her sister. 2 other children died on the property. And there were things with employees like Claire, for example. You might want to fill everybody in about Claire because she's fairly active, right?
Yes, Claire is very active. Claire, she got pregnant by her boyfriend. You know, when he refused to marry her, she got very depressed. She wound up hanging herself. She still wanders, but always. I wouldn't say wanders, but she's all over the place. Matter of fact, in all the time that I've been here, that's the only full body apparition that I have seen, and that was on the 3rd floor. And she was going from one room into her room, and that was the only time. That was the only full body apparition that I've seen. You know, and I see a lot of other things happen. You know, things move and stuff like that. But as far as full body, Claire was a fantastic person. It's just that things didn't work out the way she wanted it to work out. You know, so. You know, the poor young lady, you know, wanted to take her life. She became very depressed. You know, then we have
then who?
Then we have Vince, and on the 2nd floor, who committed suicide when the stock market crashed because he didn't want to go back and tell his family that he lost everything, and he committed suicide. You know, and but there's been a lot of mysterious things in the hotel. Like you say, people disappear, and there was an argument in a hotel, and 2 young ladies that were here disappeared. They never found their bodies, you know. But it was started in the hotel, and I don't know if they're buried in a hotel or not, you know. But they never did find their bodies.
Well, that's another part of the hotel that has a little bit of creepiness to it when you talk about buried, because the basement, one part of the basement, because it being Napanoch and so cold up, you know, upstate New York during the winter, when people died, they couldn't be buried. So that one part of the basement was kind of like a temporary morgue until the ground thawed out, wasn't it?
Right. That's under the porch. When you go down there on the left-hand side, it's raised about maybe 3-4 feet. It's all dirt. And they used to store the bodies there. On the right-hand side used to be the coal chute. They used to dump the coal in there. And then in the spring, when the ground was able to be worked on, they used to take the bodies out and bury them. You know, now, back in those days, they didn't have heavy equipment like we have today. So the bodies stood there until the ground was able to be worked on.
And they weren't embalmed, were they?
No. Back in those days, they didn't embalm.
So they were just in technically cold storage just because of the weather.
Cold storage, right. You know, and then like once the weather started warming up where they can dig, then they brought them out one by one and they buried them. You know.
So if it's under the porch, has anybody come in, maybe somebody that was sensitive or something, not knowing that bodies used to be kept there during the winter, has anybody ever said to you that they get a funny feeling on certain
Yes.
parts of the porch?
Yes, quite a few mediums that come in. And most of the mediums, I don't talk too much about it, but most of the mediums, when they come in, they don't know each other. And they come up with the same names, and they come up with the same description, that they feel that there was bodies in there at one time and stuff like that, And the same thing with our research. When I have a bunch of mediums or psychics give me the same name, these people don't know each other. They're from different parts of the country. And when they give me a name, and then I start to research it. After I get 5 or 6 times, then I'll say, well, now it's time, let's start looking a little harder,
Right.
And we spent hours in libraries and town hall and all over, going through town records and death certificates. And we have 2 books downstairs in the great room that are full of newspaper articles of things that happened, back in those days and from the hotel. So we try to do as much research as possible, and we're pretty good with that. We try to keep everybody up to date on that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure with different mediums or psychics coming through, it opens the door for more information that, maybe all of a sudden something new, something different, somebody gets something more for you to go dig and look into a little bit deeper.
Right. And most of the times, too, Marla, what I do is, if I know somebody's coming in, like I have a group that comes in, and somebody tells me that they're very sensitive and all that, I usually tell them, get yourself a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and walk through the building by yourself first before anybody else does, and write down everything you feel, what rooms and this and that. And then I'll go over it with them to see, how correct they are, and, And most of the time they hit it right on the head. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I know the para world and people that have that gift to be able to see and pass on information. It's amazing, as you said, especially historically, because oftentimes it's information that isn't common knowledge. And so when somebody gives you that, and then you check it out, look through records, find things out, and they're correct, it's like opening a whole new book, because that's not something that you would have normally found.
Right. And even yourself have given me things that I looked and, and you were right on the money,
I was having a good day. Every once in a while that happens. Now, I also heard recently that there was a woman who is heard to be crying out loudly, coming down from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor. I think you said it might have been somebody, Esther. Who was that, and why would she be crying?
It sounds more like Sarah.
Oh, okay.
Sarah, for some reason, I don't know the full story on her. We're still investigating her. But I get different types of stories, that she did have a man that was very abusive to her, and he used to keep her trapped in a room all the time. When a lot of times she cries out for help, and we have tried to help her. We have crossed over spirits that have been in the hotel. That's one thing we do if a psychic or medium comes in and they have a spirit that comes to them and tells them they want to be, they need the help. We'll cross them over. We have no problem with that,
Right.
And we had, like Teresa, one day, Teresa, she was taking a group up to the 3rd floor, and just as she got up to the 3rd floor, the top of the staircase, there was a voice right in front of her that says, "Teresa, I'm standing in front of you." And Teresa turned every color. I mean, it was unbelievable. It really scared her, But, there's things that we go through all the time here,
Yeah, I mean, they're probably, just normal everyday events. Now, the other thing that I heard, which was a little bit unnerving, not in a horrible way, but just kind of it has that creep factor, is that there is said to be three people buried in the wall, and one of which is only half of a lady. Um,
I knew you were going to bring that one up.
I had to, yeah. Tell me about that.
That's in the wall. The secret room itself is a stone wall. It has to be maybe 3 feet thick.
Mm-hmm.
And in the center, in between the stone, is full of dirt.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not holding anything up. It's not up against the rafters of the first floor.
All right, so it's a decorative.
And I get from quite a few mediums that walk in here telling me that there's 3 bodies in that wall, and one is only a half a body, and that half a body is supposed to be a female. In fact, I had a group that wanted to go to the hardware store and buy picks and shovels and dig that wall down. I said, no, just leave it there. I'm not going to tear a wall down. They don't seem to be having. That's their burial spot, and I'm not going to start digging.
Yeah, well, still, if I knew for sure that there were bodies buried in a wall, I think I would very respectfully not go anywhere around there. Right. And it's not that it would be fearful for me, but the thought of half of a woman is the thing that's kind of creeping me out. First of all, which half, and then why? Two big questions there. So,
well, that's I still haven't found out. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Or
where's the other half?
Right. I'm still backing off that a little. I'm waiting. Maybe someday.
Yeah. Well, everything comes around in its own time, and so yeah, you'll definitely find out. Now, there's always something going on at the hotel. Lots of paranormal groups do investigations. All kinds of different events are being put on, like Ladies' Night. You have psychics and mediums booking other events. You've got people coming in with books and stuff. And I'm sure that you get lots of people who book rooms with no event attached just because they want to be able to experience what it's like to spend the night in a haunted hotel. But you've recently started a new event on Wednesday nights from 8 o'clock till midnight. Would you like to tell everybody what that is?
Yes, I call it Pay It Forward. It's Wednesday night. It's every Wednesday night from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And we charge $25 per person. And all proceeds goes to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And we don't keep a dime of it. All that money gets donated to the hospital. And, it's close to my heart. And I love doing things. We're also trying to work on now for autism. I'm going to pick another night. It might be a Thursday night or a Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. We'll have basically almost the same thing, and it'll be for autism. Mm-hmm. But St. Jude, so every time I see those children, I feel sorry for them. I wouldn't say sorry, but what they have to go through.
Sure.
They're too young to be going through that,
Exactly. And lots of people know that there is such a hospital as St. Jude, but the story that surrounds it is worth mentioning. So for those who don't know the history of St. Jude's Hospital, it all started with a pledge that Danny Thomas made over 70 years ago, who at the time was kind of a struggling young entertainer, and he had a baby on the way, he and his wife. And he visited a Detroit church and was so moved during the Mass that he put the last $7 he had in the collection box. And he only had a few coins left in his pocket, so he prayed for a way to pay the big hospital bills that were coming. And the next day, he was offered a small part that would pay 10 times the amount that he had given to the church. So they say that he had experienced the power of prayer. Then a couple of years later, he achieved moderate acting success in Detroit, but he was still struggling to take his career to the next level. And once again, he turned to the church and praying to St. Jude, who is the patron saint of hopeless causes. Danny asked the saint to help him find his way in life, and he would build him a shrine. So his career then took a turn for the better, and he soon moved his family to Chicago, more career offers. And a few years later, at another turning point, he visited a church and remembered his pledge to St. Jude. And again, he prayed to St. Jude and repeated his pledge to build a shrine to the saint if he was going to be shown the way. And after that, in the years that followed, his career just really flourished. I mean, films, television. He became an internationally known entertainer. And he remembered his pledge to build a shrine to St. Jude. And in the early 1950s, he began discussing with his friends what kind of a concrete form his vow could take. And gradually, the idea of a children's hospital in Memphis took shape. And in 1955, Danny Thomas and a group of Memphis businessmen who all agreed to help support his dream got the idea of creating a unique research hospital, which is devoted to curing catastrophic diseases in children. And more than just treatment, this would be a research center for the children of the world. And what's even more amazing is that no child is ever turned away because of a family's inability to pay. So spending a night, Wednesday night at the Shanley Hotel is a great way not only to have a really good time, but again, like you said, Sal, to pay it forward and donate to a very good cause.
Yes. The family has enough on their shoulders, and St. Jude puts up the family. They don't have to worry about anything. Everything is taken care of for them. All they have to worry about is their children. And basically, just about all the money goes to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. It's not like other organizations where you have somebody up on the top level making a big paycheck and only a small percentage goes to the cause. Mm-hmm. And like I say, this is very close to my heart. Mm-hmm. And I beg everybody to do something like that. Pay it forward. We all have children. We have children that are healthy, grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and beyond that, I mean, people don't have to go. I mean, to investigate. If you're not a member of a team or something, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can go, you'll be shown around. There will be people there. Or some people would just like to come and sit and soak in the atmosphere of the hotel and hopefully, see a spirit or feel something around them, because there's a lot of activity in the hotel, even if you're not necessarily looking for it, right?
Right. It's the spirits, like I said before, are very friendly. Come with an open mind, a positive attitude, and they will interact with you. And if it's just touching your hair or, poking you on the back, or can you tug on your pants leg, move a cup, they'll do something. We had this past weekend where there was a group up on Jonathan's room, and the train, which has no batteries in it or anything, rolled across the floor to this one young girl. And she started crying, and not because she was afraid, because we finally experienced something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I had a woman here who's deceased, right? She's deceased, and she had cancer, and it makes me feel good when they come up to me and they say to me, Sal, I'm not afraid of dying anymore. I know there's another place. There is another life after death. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. I think for us that are involved in the paranormal, that is one of the perks, is understanding that this isn't the end. We move on, and it's important to know it. It's more comforting, actually, in a sense, than having the unknown and worrying about it, whatever. Now, aside from Wednesdays, because I want to get this all in, you've got some really neat stuff coming up starting, you've got Memorial Day and the 4th of July. And I understand that you've got a good old-fashioned 4th of July celebration planned, right?
Yes, Allendale holds a parade every 4th of July. We have fireworks right at the airport here. We're going to have barbecuing, and we're going to have a good old time. Go to the events page. The prices are on there. It'd be for 3 days. The price is fantastic. You can't go anyplace else for that price. And Memorial Day, the same thing. We have a great weekend planned. We have Sebastian Black coming this year. He's coming in, I think, July. He'll be here. I have author medium Geraldine Palmer coming. Mm-hmm. She does a radio show, and she's been on TV. She is fantastic. She's a fantastic medium, and Sebastian Black is fantastic. He does things that'll just blow your mind away. Matter of fact, the event is mind to mind, and throughout the evening, we're doing demonstrations of parapsychic phenomenon. Sebastian will be delivering meaningful spirit messages from your loved ones. Contact with spirits of the Shanley Hotel will be attempted. It's one thing after another. And one thing about the hotel, nobody tells you when to go to bed. You can stay up all night to investigate. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have any equipment, we'll lend you equipment to investigate. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of events, and we're still booking. We have the Halloween event coming up, which is still in planning, and it's going to be like last year. It's going to be great.
I'm really excited about Halloween because let me fill people in about the kind of, it's not the theme, but something that you're going to be doing. Because, all right, so first of all, Halloween is always a major celebration at the Shanley because in addition to it being a favorite holiday of so many, it's also a birthday party for James Shanley every year because he was actually born on Halloween. And interestingly enough, and some people may not know this, as a side note, Al Hazen, who bought the hotel after Mr. Shanley's death, was also born on Halloween. And the coincidence goes one step farther, is that Al Hazen died on the same day as Mr. Shanley as well. Different years, of course, but their birthdays and death days are the same. So it's a double celebration, and this year you're doing something a little bit different than a usual investigation in that the Singapore theory will be brought into play. And for those who aren't familiar with it, that is a method of trying to recreate the environment or part of the environment of a specific era during an investigation in an attempt to stimulate paranormal activity. So the theory in part is based on familiarization, believing that if spirits occupy the location, recognize the environment or something positive with it, they'll become active and possibly show themselves in some form. And this is done by playing music of different eras or one exact era if you're focusing, on an individual situation. And others, approaches to recreate the environment are visually or to dress, the investigators in period clothing, which everybody will be asked to do this Halloween weekend. And as I recall, the last Halloween weekend this was done with everybody dressing up like gangsters and mulls and Bordello babes and flappers. And you guys had Roaring Twenties music playing in the background. The results of the investigation were kind of amazing. So I would encourage anyone who's interested to book your spot early for this Halloween because, especially Halloween, the rooms sell out really quickly, don't they?
Yes, I already have people calling me to book for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It sells out fast. We limited only so many people, but we have a great time. And like you said, with dressing in that era of clothing and stuff, brings out the spirits more. You know, they interact a lot more. You know, it's a fantastic night. You know,
Yeah.
Then we had the birthday cake for Mr. Shanley. You know, everybody sings happy birthday to him and Al Hazen. And
then don't be surprised if you see a certain witch hanging around on Halloween night, and a few other holiday events as well, because I think I've earned my place now as the Shanley's official witch in the box.
Yes.
Meaning that I pop in via Skype and open a circle of protection prior to investigations, so that both the participants and the spirits are protected from harm. And that seems to work out pretty well from what I've witnessed. That ritual alone kind of ramps up the activity and sets the tone for the night, right?
Yes. And we're going to get you out of the box, and we're going to get you here to New York.
Well, the box is good for, while I'm in it. But yeah, I mean, in person would be even better. But, it's interesting because when I'm doing that ritual, and I think it's a good idea. I mean, some people use protection, some don't. But this is kind of a double protection, like I said, for the spirits and for the investigators. And that circle is open, and it stays open all night long. So anybody that feels a little bit threatened or anything, which never happens usually, but some people get a little scared, a little poke in the shoulder would kind of freak somebody out. It's a good place for people to go. And I remember, because I get to see you guys and as well as you see me. And when we light that candle, before we start the ritual, and in the middle of the ritual, I saw it at one point, and I was told that it just shot up, it flared, really, really high. Right. And it seems like the atmosphere changes a little bit, and that's kind of an interesting thing to do. I mean, I'm glad that it was thought of, and I was asked to do it, because it puts a different spin on investigating in a sense. And again, Halloween with everybody dressed up, it's gonna be great. And in fact, I think I'm going to have to bring Trixie back, my alter ego, for Halloween this year. And
that's nice.
Yeah, I'm going to have Trixie's going to have to open the circle or something this year, because she was very comfortable in that era with the flapper thing and everything. And
yes.
Yeah, I'm worried that Trixie is my higher self. Just so you know, it kind of scares me a little bit, but it's still all in fun. But so there is so much going on, and everybody really, there's a lot of history about the Shanley Hotel. There's a lot in general about the Shanley that people can look up on the internet and things. But I think it's better to be there and to see it firsthand, because it's literally a beautiful, beautiful hotel inside. And you're right, it feels like you're just walking into an era long ago. So,
yes, I have people come from all over the United States, Canada. Matter of fact, I have a young lady here tonight that flew in from Australia to come to the Shanley Hotel, and she's having a good time. She's out on an investigation now, and she's having a good time. Ladies' Night is a fantastic night. We do that twice a month. We hold Ladies' Night at a special price. And it's just women, no men, and it's just ladies. The investigators are females, and they have a good time. Get in your pajamas, kick off your shoes, and enjoy yourself. And that's what it's all about. Mostly everybody that comes back to the Shanley that have been here, as many times as they have, when they usually call me, they tell me we're coming home. And that's the way it is. I want everybody to feel like it's their second home, and have a good time.
Well, you and Teresa make it very comfortable for the guests that are there, and it is like a home, because it's a very homey place. And you have an extended family, not just with the people that you're with, but with some of the spirits as well. And we're talking about the events that go on all the time, but the other thing that people need to know is that they can call you up and plan their own event. You don't have to go to these events that are already scheduled, although you should, because some of them are really, really good. But if you have a group, or you need to just take a weekend, take a road trip. I mean, go to the Shanley and make your own event. Do it the way you want. There have been several interesting twists and turns to investigating that have gone on there with people's clever ideas, doing things a little bit differently, even like the Halloween thing and the Singapore theory and all that. Right. So if anybody has a group, or just, a bunch of friends get together and want to do this, call up Sal and say, hey, this is what I want to do. And, when can we be booked? I think it's something that everybody should do once, at least. Right? Yes,
I have quite a few groups that book the whole hotel for themselves, and invite so many people to come, and when that other groups that book the whole hotel and do their own events here, like they have one coming up on May 17th with Brian Cano from Ghost Collectors, Haunted Collectors. He'll be here, Brian. He has an event on the 17th of this month. So, but a lot of groups, they book the whole hotel. I had the cast from Spider-Man here. I had a group that just a bunch of friends that get together once a year, a whole bunch of friends. They called up, they booked the whole hotel, and they just have a good old time. It's a reunion, and we had weddings here. We have held a few weddings here in front of the fireplace downstairs in the great room. And so we're open to everything. We're open to everything.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm seeing, when you're talking about weddings, I'm seeing the wedding party standing there, the bride, the groom, the best man, the maid of honor, and a whole row of spirits right behind, because I'm sure they would want to join in. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah.
Matter of fact, when Richard Higgins got married here, he dressed up in period costume.
Did he?
and his team, when they came, now I knew about the wedding, and the minister, Willow was the minister, we all knew about it, but his team didn't know about it. And he proposed to his girlfriend the same night that Mr. Shanley proposed to his wife.
Oh.
And then the next day, he handed out T-shirts. It said on it, "Till death do us part," and had the date and the year. And his team was surprised that was the day they were getting married. They went upstairs. They dressed in a period costume. They came downstairs. The minister was waiting for them. They got married in front of the fireplace. It was fantastic. It really was. But cheers to you guys.
Wow. Now, see, that would be something I would do if I were going to get married. I would definitely get married there, because, I mean, you're among friends, both the living and the not living. What a better way to celebrate a wedding, or start as something. That would be fantastic. Now, one more question. There's a picture of the Shanley sitting out on the porch, and the picture's on the piano, and there's a mystery lady that doesn't belong there. Who do you think it is? Who's the mystery woman, do you think?
I don't have the slightest idea. I think it's Emma the cook. I'm not sure. I really don't know. But she's the only one in that picture that's out of focus. And every medium that walks through that door says she doesn't belong in that picture. And that's the only picture that I have of the whole that was taken on an Easter Sunday. And I got that from one of the young man that's sitting on the bottom step. His great grandson had come up here, and he had that picture, and he had given it to me.
Wow!
That's the only picture that I have of the Shanleys.
I think that may be the one. I'm not sure, but it might be the one that I did on the CD cover, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think that's maybe not. All right, so we've covered some of the good stuff that's coming up for Wednesdays and the holidays. And like I said, there's a lot of other things going on all the time as well. So where can people go to find out more about the hotel and the upcoming events?
They just have to go to www.shanleyhotel.com, go over to the events page, and everything is listed there. If they need some more information, my telephone number's on there. I have my the office number, and I have my cell phone number. They can always get in touch with me, and we can discuss whatever questions they have.
And make all the arrangements needed, yes.
Make all the arrangements.
And I just, go ahead.
And, a lot of times, people pay in advance. If there's a problem where somebody's sick or something, you don't lose your money. I reschedule you for another date. Even though we say non-refundable on tickets, we do work with everybody.
Well, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it, because you take care of people, Sal. You do. You make them welcome. You bend over backwards to be a grand host, and you are. And I mean, to your credit, it's a lovely place to visit, and the spirits notwithstanding, you're a great host.
I thank you. I'm not the greatest speaker, but I'm a good host.
You welcome people with open arms, and that's all that matters. So yes. We are running out of time, but again, it's shanleyhotel.com. And Sal, you're also on Facebook, so people can check it out there as well. And I want to thank it's Sal Nicosia. It's on Facebook, right? As well as the Shanley has its own page.
Right, Shanley Hotel fan page, or Sal at the Shanley Hotel.
Okay, great. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. And one more quick mention for those of you who are interested in the history of the Shanley. There's a CD available that I did for Sal, which gives a complete history of the hotel, the spirits who live there, the various hauntings, its famous and infamous guests. And it's accompanied by lots of good music of the era. And it's nearly an hour long, so it'll keep you occupied for a while. And you can pick it up in the Shanley's gift shop. Sal has a gift shop there. Or if you're not in the neighborhood, you can find me on Facebook, and I can manage to find you one. So I just want people to know that, the Shanley is someplace that is fascinating. It has a great history. It has great spirits, and it has a great owner. And good events. It's a great place to go just to get away, especially like on the 4th of July. If you want to do something different, or Memorial Day, go have a picnic, go watch the fireworks, and then do a little ghost hunting as well. So everybody go check it out, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So Sal, you take care, and we will talk soon.
I thank you, Marla, and it's really been an honor being on your show. And I'll talk to you real soon. All right. Okay. Good night, everybody. All right. God bless. Sal. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Martha Brooks. Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2013. Moonlight Haw by Kevin MacLeod, licensed through Incompetech.com.